Have you guys noticed all the bad news going around lately? It doesn't matter what app you open, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Grindr, it doesn't matter. It's always terrible, terrifying, treacherous news. Well, you're not the only one feeling that way, and I think I found who's to blame. Gnomes! You might think that gnomes are just these pretty little plastic critters that sit in people's gardens, but no, gnomes are evil. They are dangerous and they are wicked. They control everything. The media, the weather, the centralized banking system. And I know you think I'm crazy. I thought the exact same thing, but my uncle laid it all out to me in a text message. He said that I've made a terrible mistake. Well, maybe gnomes aren't responsible for 9/11, but I still think that they're little creepy bastards. And I know I shouldn't feel that way. I've never even met a real gnome. I think it's just my Indiana ignorance coming to the surface. So maybe it's about time that I sit my white ass down and learn a little something about the gnome culture. And what better way to do that than by watching a movie called Upworld? Upworld, or A Gnome Named Gnorm, depending on the market that the movie was released in, is a buddy cop family comedy directed by Stan Winston, director of one of my personal favorite movies, Pumpkinhead. Now, if you don't know Stan Winston, this guy is a superstar in the world of special effects. He's worked on Predator, Terminator, The Thing. Hell, he was the visionary behind the famous animatronic T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park. Needless to say, this guy is an absolute legend, which makes it even more surprising that he would direct a film like Upworld. Want to know a little bit about it? Upworld stars Anthony Michael Hall as a rookie detective who enlists the help of a magical gnome named Gnorm, voiced by Rob Paulsen, to solve a murder mystery. Sounds like the first time that I ever tried LSD. Now, this movie looks pretty bad, but I have to watch it. I have to learn from my previous transgressions against the gnome community. Did you know that that's what the G stood for in LGBTQ? I would have thought it was like glitter or something.
A Gnome Named Gnorm.
Right, I'm gonna stake out with a gnome named Gnorm. Get gnome.
The Adventures of a Gnome Named Gnorm. Coming soon from Polygram Video.
So right off the bat, I want to mention the comedic whiplash that happens in the opening credits. It's obviously an older film, but it's been re-released with updated Lionsgate graphics. So we go from a brand new HD Lionsgate logo to 1988 footage of a gnome tunneling through the earth. Man, it just feels like I got hit in the jaw with subpar quality. Ba-ba-ba-ba! Ba-da! Isn't it crazy that Lionsgate isn't the studio with the lion on it? I always figured that it would be Lionsgate, but it's not. That's Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Isn't that f***ed up? So we go to the local police department to meet our main cast of characters. First up is Detective Samantha, a no-nonsense 80s woman, which has gotta be my favorite gender. Call me a simp all you'd like, I just love powerful women. Put a chick in a turtleneck and a wide-shoulder blazer, got my goddamn knees weak. She's looking around for her partner, Casey Gallagher, played by Anthony Michael Hall, the new rookie in town who's known for joking around and slacking off. Well, if those aren't the qualities of a great police officer, then I don't know what is. She asks Detective Kaminsky, who is the more traditionally tough cop and way too handsome to be in this movie. That's a great 5 o'clock shadow. That's a f***ing man right there. Casey finally shows up, and it is so weird seeing Anthony Michael Hall as a cop. He doesn't scream cop at all. He's more of like a behind the scenes, working at the desk or in the laboratory kind of guy. You know, nerd. How did Anthony Michael Hall become a cop? You know he's a cool cop because he has his hat back
backwards.
Oh, and for some reason, Casey doesn't like guns, which seems weird. Like, yeah, I'm not a big personal fan of firearms either, but I'm not a f***ing cop. Doesn't carrying a firearm kind of just come with the job description? And we don't get any kind of explanation as to why he doesn't like guns. Has he been in a previous shootout? Has he killed someone? Did he blow the brains out of a blameless bystander? Just give me something.
No, where is?
Whoa! The f was that? Don't you guys miss the 80s where you could smoke indoors and sexually harass your fellow female employees?
So he goes and talks to the captain of the department, Stan Walton, which is surely a reference to Stan Winston, right? Surely I'm not looking too far into this. Why do I keep saying surely? I don't know. I don't know very many words. Old Stan here says that the entire department is on his ass for putting an inexperienced rookie like Casey on this super important undercover sting operation. And I'm immediately asking, why are you putting this inexperienced rookie on this super important undercover sting operation? I mean, Kaminsky's right there. A man with that kind of facial hair would never screw this up. Now you're probably wondering, well, what is this super important undercover sting operation? Well, they're trying to set up an undercover crime boss named Zadar for selling stolen diamonds. Now Zadar is kind of just a boring 80s villain, not a lot to him, but what I want to talk about is his henchman Reggie. Look at the goddamn chin on that guy.
Woo! I've been wondering where the Crimson Chin got his start, and it's right here in Upworld, or no, what the
Casey is set to meet one of Zadar's associates named Farrell in the park to exchange some money for the stolen diamonds.
Is that Robert De Niro? More like Robert B. Niro.
Now, if you will be kind enough to give us some privacy for a moment.
What's happening?
While waiting for old Robert De Niro to show up, Casey is just playing on the playground equipment and singing in the park. And again, I just have to ask, why the f*** is this guy a cop? So while Casey is playing on a merry-go-round, a cloaked figure shows up and knocks him out and steals the money. He then takes the diamonds from Farrell and gives him a briefcase with a bomb in it, which blows him to smithereens. That feels like a little bit of overkill in my opinion. You didn't have to kill the guy at all, but even if you wanted to, why not just like a bullet to the back of the brain? It'd be a lot quicker and quieter. So Stan shows up and tells Casey that he blew it, so he's taking him off the case. Probably should have started with that, Stan. And then they all just leave, as if an explosive didn't go off in a public park. Hell, I don't even think they put up any police tape or anything.
I feel like there should be more cleanup crew here. I feel like there should be police tape. There was just 2 cop cars. We just watched Robert De Niro, Robert De Zero. Oh, I'm on fire tonight.
Casey goes back to investigate the park and finds a satchel with a jewel in it. So as any good person does, he takes it. And when he takes the satchel, this weird dirt creature, which is a gnome. You're not supposed to know it's a gnome yet, but I'm letting you in on a little secret. So he takes the satchel and the gnome follows him and sneaks into the back of his car. Oh, and by the way, Casey drives a red Mustang with an oink license plate. Cause he's not just any cop, he's a cool cop.
Anthony Michael Hall is a cool cop. He wears a backwards baseball cap and has an oink license plate on his Mustang convertible.
So Casey gets home and he feels like someone's watching him, so he starts threatening the would-be intruder, but not in a threatening way, just by going, hey guys, I've had a long day, alright? I'm in no mood for this. Yeah, I'm sure that'll scare the bejesus out of him.
I love the sound of old car doors. I'm not even a car guy. Ah! Jesus Christ! I wasn't expecting jump scares in this movie.
Casey gets attacked by the creature, but he knocks him out with his gun and puts him in a cage and takes him in his house, which feels like a human rights violation. Or a gnome rights violation. Do gnomes have rights?
A cop killing an unarmed little person? Oh, the media's gonna have a field day with this. They're gonna be protests. Small lives matter! Small lives! Never mind, I'm done.
So Casey brings the critter in the house, and I'm not gonna lie, the animatronic is pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's cool, we're talking about Stan Winston, but still, a nice little creature design. Except for one thing that really bothers me. Human teeth. I don't like the human teeth. So Norm does this thing where he yawns and pretends to fall asleep, and it causes Casey to fall asleep, and it's the first of many times that I ask myself, is this thing magic? Like, I know he's a magical creature, but what's the extent of his powers? Like, could he make a whole crowd of people fall asleep? Like, hypothetically, an army? While Casey's taking the 8 o'clock train to Night-Night Town, the gnome grabs the jewel and tries to escape, but runs into the glass door. 'Cause he doesn't know what glass is. 'Cause he's never seen glass before. So Casey grabs the jewel and pretends like he's gonna eat it, and the creature cries out, "No, don't eat the lumen!" And that is a little thing that us professional film critics like to call plot. Casey takes the creature back to the park to meet Sam, and there's a moment here where I thought that Norm said the F slur, and it was like the scariest moment of my life.
Easy. Bag. Cage. Shabba.
I immediately felt like I was back in high school getting called gay for something stupid like giving handjobs to people in the bathroom. That's not gay, it's called being a good citizen, helping out my fellow man. So Casey interrogates the creature about what happened in the park last night, and Norm tells him that the man who stole the money was a giant with no eyes and a high-pitched scream. Well, that's awfully helpful.
He is a killer, and I need to nail him. And unless
You need to f the guy?
Sam shows up to meet this new witness, but Norm won't come out. He's just like me. I too try my best to hide from women. So Sam thinks that Casey has some brain damage after getting knocked out last night, so she just leaves. And then Norm comes out and makes a remark about her nice round ass. Dude, kids' movies from the 80s were on another level. On the way back home, Norm keeps pointing at people and calling them giants, and Casey realizes that by giant, he means just a normal-sized person. Or to be politically correct, vertically typical.
Oh, I'm a giant.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm a giant, what does that make you?
Good size.
Good size? A good size pain in my...
Man, I hate when bad movies make me giggle.
Casey also finds out that by no eyes, he means the man was wearing sunglasses. So far, we know that our suspect is a normal-sized guy who likes to wear sunglasses. I really feel like we're getting to the bottom of this. Back at Casey's apartment, Zadar shows up and asks Casey what the hell happened in the park last night. Casey tells Zadar he's a cop. Zadar hits him and then takes the gnome's jewel, the lumen, and then runs away. Norm tells Casey that he has to help him get the lumen back. Casey refuses, and then Norm tells him that Zadar was the man who stole the money and the diamonds. So they track Zadar down with the only lead that they know, Captain Reginald Chin. So they find Reggie at Venice Beach and they wait for him to lead them to Zadar.
God damn. 80s titties hit different.
Now this is where we get the exposition that Norm is a gnome from the underworld. And apparently they pronounce the G's in the underworld because it's pronounced Gnome and Gnorm respectively. I'm pretty sure they also have lead in the drinking water in the underworld, but I don't think there's any correlation. So Norm is a warrior, and every 10 years, the best warrior in the underground has to climb to the surface and recharge this jewel called the lumen in the sun. Consider it like their life force. Without the lumen being charged every 10 years, then the gnome people would die. Now, the old me would say that the only good gnome is a dead gnome, but the modern me would say that the old me kind of knew what he was talking about. So Norm makes Casey fall asleep with the whole yawn trick thing, and then goes and walks around Venice Beach, set to Lowrider by War. And I obviously can't play the song, but let's just pretend that it's playing here.
Whoa. Did I f fucking call it or what? I know this movie better than it knows itself.
Norm goes back to the car, and together they follow Reggie to a local butcher. And again, I have to say that this Reggie is a 10 out of 10. Look at the walk on that guy. Matches the thick-ass chin. Casey disguises Norm as a baby and goes to interrogate Reggie and says some racist shit to the Chinese butcher. I don't know what that was about.
Chung, I missed you in Vegas last week, baby. What happened to you? Listen, I ran into Ching. He said you were with Chang. I had no idea what to think. Reggie. Reg.
Anthony Michael Hall, please, baby.
Reggie beats up Casey, but spares Norm because he thinks that he's an actual baby. Is this guy blind or something? Is his chin so big that it's affected his eyesight? So Reggie calls Zadar and asks him what he wants done with the cop, and Zadar tells him to take him out on a nice dinner date. I'm just f***ing with you. He tells him to kill him, obviously. Oh, and Norm memorizes the phone number that Reggie dialed to get a hold of Zadar, so remember that. It's gonna come back later. It's a little storytelling trick that we like to call three-shadowing. So Reggie goes to kill Casey, but Norm stabs him in the groin with a meat hook and then throws him into a vat of pig's blood. No, I'm not kidding. So back outside, Norm puts in the phone number that he memorized, and it goes to an exotic theater just down the road, so they go there, expecting to find Zadar. And then when Casey goes into the theater, he tells Norm to stay in the car, as if this guy didn't just save your f***ing life. I mean, come on, man. Wouldn't you like a little backup? A little backup? A little bit, cause he's little. Casey holds Zadar at gunpoint, but Norm comes in and blows the cover, which gives Zadar an opportunity to escape and slash Casey's tires. And because of the tragic murder of his red Mustang, Casey commandeers a citizen's vehicle to chase after Zadar. Now, stupid question. Are cops allowed to do that in real life? Cause I'd probably try and fight that f***er off. There's no way I'm letting a pig drive my 2004 Buick LeSabre. But unfortunately for old Casey, as if this day couldn't get any worse, he didn't just steal any regular car, he stole a hearse with a casket in the back, leading a funeral procession. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny. The sight of an entire funeral procession involved in a high-speed chase is quite hilarious. So Casey ends up crashing the hearse, because I don't think these things were made to be speeding through the city, and loses Zadar. And when he crashes the car, the casket falls out of the back of it, and some innocent bystander sees the corpse laying on the sidewalk and goes, "Oh my god, that guy's dying," and starts giving it CPR, and it's awesome. So Norm follows Zadar on foot to a hotel, but he can't get inside the hotel because the door is made of glass, and he doesn't know how glass works, because he's never seen glass. So he just sits outside and starts freaking out because there's all this noise going on, like dogs barking and construction, and it's really funny. He's just kind of having like an autism attack, if you will. And it's funny because I'm like that. I also don't like loud noises, but mine's not really construction and dogs. Mine's more when someone's walking through a grocery store talking to someone on speakerphone. It bothers the shit out of me. No one cares what you have to say to your dumbass friend, Sandra. So Stan shows up and suspends Casey until the case is over, which feels like a slap on the wrist. This kid has caused so much damage. Qualified immunity at its finest. So Casey finds Norm crying in some bushes, and they argue for a little bit, but they immediately make up, and then they go to the hotel to finally stop Zadar.
We blew it.
You blew.
I blew it? What do you mean I blew it? I did not blow it. You were no major ass.
I didn't blow it. I don't blow. I've never blown in my life.
So Casey holds Zadar at gunpoint and demands for him to give the lumen back to Norm, and then Zadar says, "I'll give you the fucking jewel, you just tell me about what happened in the park last night." And then Casey says, "What do you mean what happened in the park? Weren't you the guy who did that?" And Zadar goes, "No, of course not. If I was the one who did it, then why would I show up to your apartment the next day? I would have just skipped town. Also, aren't you that guy from the Breakfast Club?" Casey's all confused and he's like, "Norm, what's going on? You said that this was the guy." And Norm's like, "Well, I fucking lied. Of course I lied. Why would I tell you the truth? All I want to do is get my jewel back. Also, Aren't you that guy from Johnny Be Good? While all this is going on, Zadar gets shot by a mystery man on the street, and we get a pretty cool practical effect here of Zadar falling off the balcony. It's just a stupid little ragdoll being thrown off a building, but you just don't see that anymore, man. It's all CGI and computers and graphics and whatever the I stands for. I just want to see more ragdolls being thrown off buildings. Bring back ragdolls, Hollywood. Casey saves Norm from the balcony, and we pan down to the street to see the identity of our mystery gunman.
It's Stan! No! Anyone but the guy that we look up to.
The cops show up and Casey tells Norm to make a run for it, because if the Upworlders find him, then they'll take him as prisoner and do a bunch of weird science experiments on him. Which just sounds like a regular BDSM night at a small town bar in Utah, but what do I know? Norm goes through the lobby but runs right into the glass door. Cause it's glass, and he's never seen glass before. So Stan steals the lumen from Norm and then arrests him. Why? Are you really gonna take this little f***er in front of a judge? Kaminsky arrests Casey, and Stan tells him to book him for murder because the gun that killed Zadar was Casey's. But Zadar was very obviously shot from the street, and Casey was in the hotel room, and he had his gun on him. Man, this police work just ain't working. Norm and Casey are both put in the back of the same police van, and again, they're really gonna book this little guy. Why wouldn't they just leave it up to animal control? Or f*** it, just curb stomp it or something. I don't know, it doesn't have rights. Norm comes clean to Casey and tells him that he's not actually a warrior. He's just a tunneler who stole the lumen in an attempt to impress Rena, a gnome girl from the underworld. So let me get this straight. Norm came all the way to the surface, got involved in a murder case, and possibly doomed his entire species for some pussy? Brother, I've been down bad, but I've never been that down bad. They take Norm to the station, and we get a fun sequence of him getting booked. You know, pictures, fingerprints, medical exam. Just a good fun time, honestly. Oh, and we get to see Norm's tight little gnome ass, and that's pretty cool. Movies nowadays are just way too afraid to push boundaries like this, but not Upworld. Casey and Norm are both in Stan's office, and again, I can't help but mention how hilarious it is that they're treating this little thing like it's a person. Back then, we didn't even treat human criminals like they were people. Casey starts talking back to Stan, and Stan turns down his hearing aid, and it produces this high-pitched screech, and Norm goes, "That's it, that's the high-pitched scream that I heard in the park," and Casey realizes that Stan is the culprit they've been searching for this whole time. Stan starts to interrogate Norm, and I'm pretty sure that Jerry Orbach accidentally said shit here, and they didn't want to waste any tape for another take, so they just dubbed over it.
What's all this junk? Is this some kind of voodoo crap?
And then Stan is about to shoot Norm in his office in the police department, which I don't think would have gone over well. How are you gonna explain that one, Chief? But right as he's about to start blasting, Sam busts in the office and says that she has new information about Zadar's killer. Sam tells Stan that the gun came back clean. There's no fingerprints, no gunpowder. Hell, it's not even registered. And again, how the hell were you gonna get away with that one, Chief? Norm does the little sleepy time trick on Kaminsky and then escapes through the window, but not before stripping Kaminsky down to his dick and balls. Well, I wonder if the carpets match the drapes, if he's got a little 5 o'clock shadow on his nutsack. The police chase after Norm and they let the dogs loose on him, and I feel like that's a little aggressive, personally. It's like dropping a hand grenade on a grasshopper. He's just a little guy.
What if he just like kills the dogs? What if they turn the corner and the dogs are just obliterated? It's like, whoa, motherfucker, we did not think you were that violent.
But Norm digs under the police station and tunnels all the way to Casey's cell, where Casey's trying to convince Sam of what's going on. Which does feel like a hard task to tackle. Could you imagine being like, hey, you know our boss, the captain? Yeah, he's a killer. How do I know? A gnome told me. I'm such a child. So Norm shows up, and now Sam believes everything that's going on, which I don't know if I would. Just because that little magical creature showed up doesn't mean anything. As far as I'm concerned, that's a demon that's trying to get us all killed. But Sam goes along with the plan and distracts Kaminsky while Casey and Norm escape by coming on to him. And he just falls for it for some reason. I know he's a hound dog and all, but she hasn't been into you at all in this movie. As a matter of fact, she's done nothing but turn down your advances. Why now? Why, right as you're about to go interrogate an important murder suspect who just so happens to be her partner and her best friend, would she suddenly be sexually attracted to you? Casey and Norm dig down to the parking garage and start going through Stan's car, but then Stan shows up, and instead of running and hiding, Norm just hides in the back of Stan's car. Because he's a dumb gnome, I guess. Sam comes down and picks up Casey, and they go to the park, because that's where they think Stan is going. Why? Why would he be going back to the park? But apparently that's exactly what Stan's doing, because he left the briefcase full of money underneath the merry-go-round. How the hell did the cops not find this? Did they really not do any kind of investigation in the park? So my recollection of the ending of this movie isn't the best. I was kind of distracted by something more important. Like my dog.
Why you stink so much? Oh, my big old baby. Why you stink so much? Why you stink? Oh, there's a movie happening. I'm sorry.
So Casey is wearing a wire and he gets Stan to talk and confess to everything. Why would you do that? Weren't you the captain of the police department? You should be smarter than this. But Stan gets the upper hand and holds Casey and Sam at gunpoint, and right as he's about to pull the trigger and kill these two innocent cops, Norm busts through the dirt and hits Stan with an atomic nut shot.
Now you and a little girl are gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah! Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Did I scare you?
Norm grabs the gun, but Stan turns it against him and shoots him, and I wasn't emotionally prepared for this scene. Rest in peace to Norm. F's in the chat.
No!
But Norm survives because he's a gnome with super strong skin. Again, the military purposes are endless. So while researching this movie, I read that Stan Winston originally had a much darker ending to the film, but it didn't react well with test audiences, and now I'm wondering if this is the original ending. Just Norm getting shot and then choking on his own blood as the credits roll. Now that's how you end a family comedy. Casey beats up Stan and locks him in a cage, and he turns to the camera to give his big action hero final line, and he chooses, "That'll do it."
How to do it?
Good final line, Anthony. Well, that'll do. That'll do, folks.
Casey then climbs a tree and recharges the lumen for Norm, and I completely forgot that that was a thing. It kind of got lost in the shuffle, didn't it? And then Norm digs down and returns to his home, which I don't know if I would. We've got a lot of cool stuff up here, like Wendy's, Hot Women, and HBO Max. Why would you want to trade that for some dirt?
Dude, they're gonna hang him for treason when he gets back there. He stole their precious jewel. He almost killed the whole civilization. That fucker's getting the electric chair. If there's a lethal injection down there in the underworld, fucker's getting it.
But Norm makes one last appearance and encourages Casey to finally kiss Sam by saying, "Make her toes curl." Oh, I've never felt grosser in my life. Why would you say something like that? But Casey and Sam kiss, and then we get a funny freeze frame thumbs up by Norm, and then the credits roll, the movie's over, and at the very bottom of the credits, there's like 100 f***ing people who are credited with the performance of Norm. Are these little people? Are they the people who controlled the animatronic? Rob Paulsen's up there. Who are these people? And that's it for A Gnome Named Gnorm, or Upworld, or Stan Winston's Weekend Acid Trip, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, a pretty fun movie. I'm not gonna say it's a work of art like The Lighthouse, but compared to the real shit that I've seen, it's fine. Specifically, the funeral procession chase scene. Now that's comedy. But in my opinion, there are a few things that really bring the movie down for me. For starters, Anthony Michael Hall, at least this young version of Anthony Michael Hall, isn't meant to play a cop. I think this character would have worked a lot better if Anthony Michael Hall wasn't a cop, but more of a kid who wanted to become a cop but couldn't cut it. Maybe he couldn't pass the physical exam. Maybe there weren't any openings available. Maybe he had a felony for beating up his girlfriend. I don't know, just something. Then you have that character constantly trying to help the police in an effort to get a job with them. Think of it like Incrediboy from The Incredibles, but instead of growing up to become a supervillain, he meets a magical gnome that helps him solve a murder mystery. And another thing, it kind of sucks that we don't get to see anything from the underworld. I think it'd be a little nice to see him return to his home at the end of the film, receiving a hero's welcome. Maybe we even get to see that hot piece of ass Rena that he risked the species to impress. But other than that, I think that's it. It's not the greatest movie in the world. I wouldn't recommend anyone wasting their free time to watch it, but compared to the garbage that I've seen on Tubi, this wasn't bad. So if you stuck around to the end of this video, then thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, it means more than you'll ever know. Drop a like if you'd like, subscribe if you want some more silly movie reviews, and comment down below some bad movie suggestions. And you know, I think I learned something from this movie. You really can't judge someone by what they look like, where they come from, who their family is, what they call their home. The true judge of a person is their character, who they are as a person and how they treat those around them. Everyone is equal under the sun and the stars. We are all one. Except for police officers. ACAB! You know, I never really got the whole thing with lawn gnomes. Is there some kind of tradition that I'm not aware of? Why gnomes? Why not lions or dragons or monster trucks? Could you imagine a bunch of monster trucks in your garden? Now that would be bitchin'.